Hey guys, I got a Peterbilt here with a EPA10 model Paccar mx-13 that's pushing water. He's got 1.2 million out of this one, so he's been pretty fortunate. So we're gonna start disassembling this thing. Yesterday I got this thing must have, I don't know, it must have come from back east somewhere originally, but wherever he bought this truck, because I'm telling you what, the bolts on it has a bull bumper on it, and the two bolts there, I had to cut one of the bolts clear out of it to get it, couldn't get it loose with a 3/4 gun. I heated the nut up, still couldn't get it loose. Finally just cut the end of the bolt off and beat it out with a punch. The other one I had to heat it and it came loose. But these here, usually I pull these hoods like this, and I just knock these out of here. But I tried to get them off here, and these bolts are rusted into the bushings here, and they will not come out. So basically I just had to unbolt this bracket from the hood itself and get it off of there. And then you could probably do this end frame without doing that, without pulling the hood, but I'm gonna tell you, it's such a time saver not walking around the frickin' hood all the time. It really is. So this is a 587 Peterbilt back here, and I learned me a little bit in the last couple of days on this thing. He leases on to System Transport, and they had some guy inspect his truck down there, and the ABS light was on. So anyways, I looked at it and I hooked my laptop up to it, and I could not, it was acting like the ABS module didn't even exist in it. And so I knew I had a power supply problem to the ABS controller, so I went over there, and sure as hell, somebody had pulled the fuse out of it, put the fuse in it, and then all of a sudden you hear the click, 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 click all over the truck there. And what you hear clicking those, when those are clicking, you hear, do I have a light on me? I don't know if I got a light on me, but there's a valve on each corner for each wheel, for each drive axle, and it's a hold and release. It's a modulator valve, okay? So that's what you hear clicking. It's when you turn the key on these trucks, it's checking, it's doing a self-check. So anyway, I went over there and I looked at the laptop, and then it had a code for the left. All it said was, it'll give you an SID number and an FMI number. So it was an SID 44 FMI4 code with a blink code too, and it actually gives you the blink code. So the blink code was a 94. So I went home last night. Well, actually yesterday, what I did, I knew for certain my valves were okay because I found out what you can do. Let me turn my light on my phone, and I'll kind of show you. So there's one of your valves, and the other ones are right here, and the connectors on them are exactly the same. So what I did is I took the one off the right valve, because I can activate those with my Texa unit, and I can activate them and they'll start clicking. Okay, and that way you can check your valve, your response. And so the left one, you would activate it and it wouldn't do anything, nothing. You could activate the right one and it would start click, 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 you know. And so I took the connector off that one and put on that one, and I activated the right one. Then I climbed under here and the left one was clicking. So I knew my valve was fine. So anyway, I didn't have a clue as to where the ABS controller was last night. So I went home, or yesterday afternoon when I was checking this thing. So I called him and told him, I says, I got to find out more info on this thing. So anyways, I went and found Bendix's got all their stuff published right there on the good old interweb. So I went and checked that, and the whole that truck has got an EC60 Bendix controller in it, and he doesn't have the yaw control on it, the stability control. He has steer axle and drive axles, both drive axles, ABS on that one, and he has traction control. So like you'll see on this truck right here, this one has, I think this truck right here has got ABS, but I don't think it has traction control. So anyways, what I did on that is I went ahead I looked at the wiring diagram and I found the ABS controller down inside the dash behind my cup holder, and I got it out of there where I could check, and I pulled the X2 plug out, and you've got 3 wires there. You've got 3 pins in that plug-in on the X2 terminal, and you can check the common, the release, and the hold pins, and then you check those, you check them against each other for resistance and things like that, and everything passed. And then you check those pins and make sure you have your modulator valve plugged in back there on the coil, and then you check that, all 3 of those pins on that to the ECM, to the controller plug-in, the X1 plug that has the power and the ground. And if there's no continuity between the power and grounds and those 3, means they're not shorted, then it's obvious that the wires are fine, the coil on the modulator's valve's fine, so obviously you got a bad controller. So we ordered one of those this morning, $3,200 for that ABS controller. Wow. Anyway, so anyways, guys, I'm gonna get in here and start disassembling this thing. I got to get rolling on this deal. So I guess as we're doing this, I'll start bullshitting you about the tractor I had to go look at this morning too. Well, I'm gonna get to disassembling here. Okay, so there's no shortage of things on these Paccars to remove. I got the other side gutted already. I didn't show that. It's just more of the same. It's kind of like the John Deere, just a bunch of useless junk you got to pull off. Cutting some zip ties here. Oh, this shit's got to come off of here. These EPA10s, there's quite a bit of stuff to pull up. They're not as bad as the newer ones are. The newer ones are even worse. They suck. Okay. And that's all air conditioning stuff. I'd like to keep it charged if I could. Well, let's see. I got the battery disconnect switch. He's got a disconnect switch on there. I got it off, so I think what we need to do is just get the alternator off of it. So what do we got for tensioner? I'm trying to remember the size of that tensioner. What did I do with my little light? Headlamp's charging in the truck there. I got 2 of them. I don't know why I just don't grab the other one. What's that look like? A 17, 18 millimeter, something like that on that tensioner. Come on. I can't get the light to shut off now on the phone because these gloves that I'm wearing. I get this son of a bitch to turn off. It won't turn off. There we go. About 17 millimeter. That's what it looks like. It's smaller than that. Hello. Okay, let's see. Get the belt off. We got a 10 up there on the top. What the hell is that? Looks like a 10. Apparently I already got the 10 millimeter out somewhere. Huh, there it is, right there. A plethora of shit to take off here. That is not 10 millimeter, that feels like a 3/8 situation to me. All right. 3/8 and such. Sorry, there's an old farmer right around here that when you talk to him, and he'll say something and you'll reply back to him, and the whole time while you're talking to him and He'll say, get a kick out of it, so I give him shit all the time. This here ground wire. Get that ground wire off her. I have to admit I hate these engines, but I'm getting to where I got one log truck that I've been doing a lot of work on his. And I'm getting pretty good at working on this damn Packars, I think. I think I'm finally cutting my teeth in good on them. I swore those are metric on those ground wires for those. I don't recall that being a SAE bolt in there. Society of Automotive Engineers and such. Yeah. So the owner of the John Deere, he's coming over with the rebuild kit, and I got the rod bushings in, and I found a head. John Deere had 3 reman heads in Milan. So it's a head. It's going to be coming by truck freight. So it's going to be a little while. It'll probably be towards the end of the week next week before we even see the head. But so I was the head through John Deere, the reman head was like $4,100, and I could get the head done through Carry Up at Diesel Cast West for $2,175, about half the price. But we couldn't get any valves for it. They're all basically had to get the valves through John Deere, and they're on back order. But I could get valve guides, valve stem seals, seats, all that stuff, but I couldn't get the valves. Come on, you son of a bitch. So, for the sake of time, we just went and ordered that one, and hopefully the truck driver hurries his ass and gets over here with it. Our truck driver. I'll piss some truck drivers off. I got a lot of friends that I grew up with that are professional truck drivers. I give them shit all the time. I give them plenty of shit, that's for damn sure. I wonder if that there battery disconnect, does that work? Okay. Alright, so, just kind of gonna start my way from the forward end here and work my way back. I think I'm just gonna get, just get this damn power steering reservoir and unbolt it from the frame here and just get it out of my damn way. I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's right in the way of everything that I want to accomplish here, but we got to get this bracket off of here that holds the I mean, all this stuff's got to come off to get these lines out of here, and we'll probably have to jack. No, this one's got more room than the short hoods do. I think this line will come out of here on this one. Sometime on the short hood ones, you'll have to take the cab mounts loose and jack the cab up so you can get the fuel line out of there. But or can I work around the power steering reservoir? I don't know. What is the right decision there? I don't know for certain. There's a 10 millimeter right there. It needs to come out. Such. What is that holding up there? It's another bracket or something up there. I don't know what the hell I did with my magnetic parts tray. There it is. Let's get all the bolts that we pull off of this, throw them in there. And once we get all that crap off there and get it out of the way and get the bracket off, we'll just kind of thread them back in there so we keep track of them. Having trouble here. Let's see here. Let's see, this has got a bracket. Man. Lots of brackets on these things, man. Here comes a pain in my ass. Okay, so I got the bracket loose. I can get it out of there now. I get all the ins and outs in the little... Okay. So yeah, I like to put all this stuff back where it came from. That way I don't have, like I say, a big old parts tray full of bolts with different lengths. I know it's fresh in my mind. I know where they came out of. Well, guys, finally got didn't show much of the disassembly here because I was being plagued with battery problems for cameras. So I finally got one to take a charge, and here we are. I'm hard on shit, so sorry about that. My line of work is not really the easiest on sensitive camera equipment. But anyway, I gotta fire the truck up. I cannot get this injector and this one to come out easily. The others, I just grabbed a pair of Niplex and just pop them out of there. It's usually how they come out, but I gotta get a slide hammer or something and thread into these holes and pop them out. I had a bolt, a short shouldered bolt, and I was up against this valve bridge stud here, and I was prying on it with that big bar right there, and it wouldn't pop out. So they're in there. So I think I'm ready to pull the old cylinder head. As far as I can tell, I don't think there's anything else attached to the back of it or anything. Is there? No. We should be all right. So anyways, let me fire the truck up because I'm going to use I guess I could zip these out while I'm building air, these small bolts, but I'll get the 3/4 gun and the impact and zip these out. It's just a lot faster with the air. All right. I have to loosen up this front mount so I can... Those don't seem to be very tight. Let the truck catch up. One of these days, if I ever get time, I'm going to build a manifold down the walls here and put, you know, some big air hose hookups to it. I never have time to do anything like that. It's always going from one project to the other. What do you do? Maybe by the time I eventually get all this set up, a train will derail and take the whole building out. Oh, I should have videoed that, but that dirty son of a buck, I'm telling you what, that sucker was stuck down. It was lifting the front of the truck up. And I let off on it quite a bit to get this, you know, the suspension to squat again. And I thought, you know, that should be enough tension on it. And I hit that sucker, I got on that steer tire, and I hit it on the exhaust side of the head with that big rubber mallet about 3 times. And that dirty son of a gun bounced up, oh, probably this high in the air, and swung over and hit me and knocked me off the steer tire onto the ground. And I'm all right, but my elbow's hurting a little bit. Holy shit, man, that sucker was stuck down. I've had some like that before that was, whew. Okay, see how wet this hole is right here, number 2? See how dry these are? I mean, these are wet here because we pulled the injectors out, but this is wet around the entire circumference of the cylinder head on the bottom here. I'm trying to look at this. This style of head gasket is kind of hard to tell exactly what you've got going on, really. Let's get a rag and clean this up. Let's see if I can see any obvious cracks right there. I don't really see anything there. This has got to be the cylinder that's causing the problems, though. Man, this gasket's stuck on there pretty good, huh? Let's get over here, maybe look at this bottom side of the gasket, because they'll leak there too. See if we can see the evidence of it going past the fire ring. I know that is the cylinder. That's the same cylinder I noticed it was wet on the exhaust manifold when I pulled it off. Unless the head's cracked from a water port down into the, which I really can't 100% say that that's, what is that right there? Is that from me just doing that? Yeah. I thought that was a crack, but I don't see anything right off. Them valves are recessed in there pretty good. He needs another head. I can tell you just from looking at this how I recessed these valves. The valve seats are worn out in it. So far, I don't see exactly what's going on there. I mean, could there be electrolysis in the liner maybe, and it's getting in on top of the piston because it was shoving it out of the... You'd think you would have seen it in the oil, though. Just kind of look for any kind of evidence as it would point me in the right direction. I mean, that's kind of blown out there. But usually you'll see a trail, you know, along the fire ring there. You'll see a trail, and I'm not really seeing that. You never know, it's misleading. Sometimes you'll think that you're on the right cylinder, and then it'll be a different one. Then you'll find a trail on another one. Let's swap it over and see. There's something kind of funky about this, and I don't know if that just happened when it probably happened when I was pulling on it, trying to get it out of there, I'm supposing. I mean, he's got some black around here, but see this, what's this here? See how this is blown out right here on the fire ring? Could that possibly be causing our problem? It's kind of odd how that's blown out. You see a section of this is gone. But this is the wet cylinder here. I mean, I see black carboned up looking stuff around here, around this edge here. I see black carbon around here. You never know with these things. It could have been leaking. It could have been leaking around the fire ring and just had enough pressure when it was cold and shrunk up or something, and just to push it out the coolant past that to a water port. Let's see, what's the closest water port? That's a head bolt hole. So you got these holes here, the water port. So that's where a guy needs to be looking, is on those kind of oblong looking deals there. I don't really see the rubber torn up on those or nothing. These are where head bolts go through. These are. Unless that head's cracked somewhere and I ain't seeing it. Or do we got electrolysis in a liner? Let's get that light and shine down in the hole real good. Let's look down in here and see if we see anything obvious. I do notice that there's a little bit of water from pulling it out on each one, but so far I don't see anything obvious here. I don't see like porosity so far, but sometimes you can't tell by looking at it until you pull the liner out, and then on the back side where the water is, that's where you'll really see it. I guess we'll see what protrusion is. I guess that's the next thing. Well, the spec is 4 to 7 thousandths on a used liner, and it's pretty close to the same specification for a new liner. And I know, why don't you clamp that liner down? I've been doing this long enough, guys, on a liner that's in the block and it's been in there for 1.2 million miles. That son of a bitch is down as far as it's gonna go. It ain't gonna go no higher, or no lower, I mean. It's clamped down where it's at right now. Now, a new liner, when you put it in there, the O-rings are spongy and stuff, and yeah, you want to clamp them down, but just trust me, you can clamp that down. I've done it. I've done the experiment myself numerous times. I've checked them like this without clamping an old liner down, and then I went and clamped a new one down, and there was no difference at all. And I've done it multiple times just to make sure. And I'm telling you, That's a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. So we're at 0 there, 7. I'm kind of checking all 4 corners here. I took some emery cloth and cleaned up the deck surface there. And this liner, this piston here has more, there's a little bit of water from pulling the head on all of them, but you'll notice that this one's got way more water than all the rest of them do. It's this cylinder here. And another thing that you'll notice, if I can find my light, whatever I did with that, the anti-polishing ring, see how that one's like, you'll see a little bit of a trail there from pulling the head, but most of the total circumference of that anti-polishing ring, which is this, is dry. And so are the other ones, all 5 other ones, except for number 2. Number 2 is wet all the way around it. It's in this cylinder. I don't know if the camera is even picking that up, but let's shine the light. You see how it's wet? And see how much water's in the hole versus the other cylinders? They're all pretty much the same from pulling the head. And then you've seen how wet the bottom of the head was around this hole. It's definitely this cylinder here. So that one's at 7 thousandths. Let's go to the other side. So I have really not heard anything about these Paccars dropping liners. I think that's pretty rare if it does happen. Maybe it does, but very, very rare. Need to get zeroed out a little bit better here. Come on, work with me. Is there a little bit of shit there on that, or what's the deal? A little bit off. Yeah, 7 thousandths. I don't understand why that's not staying zeroed. Pretty much the same thing all the way around. And the deck looks real nice and flat. I don't see the old N14s and the big cam Cummins with the 3-cylinder heads on them. The bad thing about those is where the heads ended, they would wear, and they would actually wear into the block deck surface, and you had to really check your deck. I've had quite a few of those redecked. So, what do we do with this thing? I don't see anything obvious as far as, I mean, the block should be fine because it'd have to go through the liner if this water port was cracked. I mean, it'd have to go through the liner, and then you'd have water and oil anyway, I would think. Let's take a real close look at this again, I guess. We know it's on number 2. Sometimes these can be hard to find. Sometimes if you study it long enough, you'll find it. These are our water ports right here. I mean, I noticed that this one here is kind of, see how this one's torn out a little bit? This gasket material here. What, let's see now that. What does that do? That's just feeding. That's just where the, all that is where the, that's a little dowel of some kind. I'm trying to see what this hole here goes to, this bigger hole right here. You know, I see water. There's water seeping out of this right now. And that head is cracked right there. That head's cracked. Right there between the valves. I bet the head's junk. I bet the head is cracked, and that's what's causing all the troubles. And that's why I'm not seeing it on the head gasket. I am noticing that here is suspect. I can kind of see a ridge around all this other stuff, but I don't see a real ridge of carbon or anything over here like it's gone. And there is actually water seeping out of this. There's water seeping out of this hole right here. Let me get a shop towel and let's clean off shit a little better here, maybe, huh? Head is definitely cracked right there. I don't even know if the camera can pick that up. It's cracked on this. It's cracked on this one too. Thinking about pulling that valve out of there. And looking down in that hole. Well, none of these others got water seeping out of the, you know, not that I can tell. And you can kind of tell on this cylinder here too. See this reddish tint looking like stuff, like it was, like that red antifreeze was going through it or something here. None of these other cylinders have that reddish tint looking around the valves. Must be something to do with that propylene glycol antifreeze, because the green antifreeze, most of the time you'll see it clear as day, you'll see white. This has a little bit of white crust, but sometimes that can fool you too. Sometimes that's not water. I don't see these here, I don't really see the cracks like I see on that one. Between the valves. That one doesn't have a crack that's completely visible. This one here has a crack clear across here and a crack clear across there. I don't know. Wake the camera viewfinder up. I don't know if you can see that, but it's cracked. Sure as shit. And this one here, that one's cracked too. That one's cracked in two places there. This side looks fine. You can see also that this valve here, the exhaust valve seats are leaking. See how the exhaust, see how it's got a stream of black carbon from here to here? The exhaust valve seats are leaking in that one. This one's cracked all the way down on this one. Here's another crack right here. This head's junk. But, you know, you can have valves, cracks between the valves. It's not going to cause water intrusion into the cylinder. That's not going to cause that. But is it cracked between a water port and, you know, where the water goes around the cylinder head and a valve? That's the question. That's what we don't know. If it's cracked in there too. I mean, I don't really know what the right decision here is. Should I pull a valve out and look down in that hole and see if I see anything obvious? I guess I could, but I might call the owner and ask him what he wants to do, but I don't see 100% any kind of sign of electrolysis. But there's definitely something going on with number 2 cylinder. It's number 2. So we'll have to make a decision here in a little bit. Well, so talking to the owner, so this thing has had a head on it already. It's never been in-framed. He's only the second owner. But the original owner did say that he put a head on it. So, you know, this bottom end looks pretty good, but I told him, you got 1.2 million miles on the liners and pistons. So I'm not trying to create work for myself. I got plenty to do, but I mean, it's up to you. We can put a head gasket and a head on it and put her back together. I says, you know, and it'll probably run for quite a while until it starts using oil, you know, and it, or, you know, them rod and main bearings, they've got 1.2 million miles on. I don't know what condition they're in, but this guy here, he takes pretty good care of his stuff. He stays on top of his oil change intervals, and I guess he does oil samples every oil change, and they've been coming back clean, except for the last one had water in it, and they told him, hey, you got water in your oil. So that tells you there he had a problem. Anyway, I guess after talking to him, we're just, you know, it's kind of, you're this far along anyway. I mean, now all we really got to do is drop the oil, drop the pan, and pop liners and pistons out of it and rebuild it. So I don't see any, you know, I don't know if they even, because if you're reading, let me find my phone if I can find it. And I was reading about that in the service manual. If I can find it again. I don't even see where it's at. Here it is. Tells you right here on the Paccar stuff. Here's your liner protrusion. Okay, cylinder liner height, used cylinder is, there's your metric, and here's your SAE. Basically 0.0039, 4 thousandths to 7 thousandths, and one's 0.0048 to 70. So it's basically 4 to 7 thousandths on both of them, really. I mean, you're about a thousandths difference, maybe 5 to 7 on a new liner. But and they tell you that you can't have more than you can't have more than 1 thousandths, 0.0012 inch between adjacent liner. A from the adjacent liner must not exceed that. Okay, well, I mean, so that being said, where was I reading on this that I don't see anything about cutting the block on this? Okay, here's where I was reading. Fit the block gauge, position the tip. Okay, if the measured height is not within tolerances and the cylinder liner seat is free of cavitation, a service cylinder liner with a 16 thousandths with a 0.0016 inch higher collar can be fitted. Huh. Interesting. That's very interesting. Doesn't really sound like they cut the blocks on these Paccars. It sounds like they just put a liner with a different collar on it here. Because these are tops. These are recessed counterboards. If I remember right, I'm pretty certain they're not mid stops. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I know about that. I'm gonna go out here and pull an engine out of a 7.3 Power Stroke I got for another customer. I sold him this engine out of this pickup. We've got a kit here, but you know, for the John Deere, Matt showed up the other day and we were looking at this and he said, yes, change this turbo too, order a turbo. So I got to get on there and find this turbo. Look how It's hard to tell when you got broken rings like that. You know, the turbo may not be the problem. It might be, usually when it's the turbo, it'll be coming out the exhaust side where it's pushing, not the intake side. But, I mean, he said just change it. Change that turbo. He said, we're going this far and doing this. He said, I got to get the rods all put in a box here. I got the rod eye bushings in a sack in the service truck. And this tractor, everybody kept asking me how many hours this tractor's got on it. It's got over 11,000 on it. Over 11,000 hours. So, anyway. So I got to load them up. I need to take this thing outside and clean this up real good. Yep. And anyway, oh, what was I saying? I was talking about this kit, $9,500, and all they give you rod bolts, main bearing bolts. There's some other miscellaneous bolts and shit that we probably won't even use half of them. But you get a front and rear seal, gasket kits, car's head gasket, pan gasket, and then rod and main bearings, but no head bolts. So I guess I'm going to call them and say, hey, I need a set of head bolts for this thing. But Pete was telling me that they can't even get head bolts for half these things right now. I'll tell you what. Anyway, let me go out here. I got to go out back here, and I'm going to pull an engine out of a pickup and then take it home with me.